Welcome back to Small Town Sound, the podcast that celebrates the incredible things happening in music programs across small communities. I'm your host, Steve Brown, and today's guest is someone who built championship level programs, led at the highest levels of drum corps, and most importantly, proved what's possible in a small school setting. Stan Mauldin led ensembles to state championships, national recognition, and performances at some of the most prestigious stages in the country. But what makes his story really interesting is the path. Stepping away from music, coming back, rebuilding programs, and doing it all with humility and purpose. Stan, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Steve, for having me. It's good. It's a good time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take us back to the beginning. Why did you become a music educator? What interested you? And maybe list a couple of influences.
I don't know if we wanted to go to the real reason I went to school. It's they pulled my draft number when I was in high school, and it's either go to college or Vietnam, right? And I got a full ride scholarship to Blinn Junior College to go do that. And that band director at Blinn had just graduated, got his DMA from the University of Houston, and that's how I ended up at the University of Houston. My band director was Lee South. Mr. South, it's interesting that at Irving High School, Lee South was the band director, a young man named Philip Geiger, who's a Hall of Fame band director from Westfield High School. I was in that band. James South, his son, who's a Hall of Fame band director from Oklahoma, was in that band. And Brian Gibbs, who's now one of the band directors at Sam Houston State, was in that band. So it's like, how did all those band directors get the same spot at the same time? I don't know, but we all turned out okay, didn't we? It's a good time.
Yeah. So, can you explain a little bit of what you've had to do with small school programs and where you're at now, and what led to those things that you're doing now?
That everybody says you've done this and you've done that, and I find all of that to be somewhat comical. I haven't played a note or marched a step in a school band since 1972. Now, I can organize all of this, and I can make sure the music's written at a high level and that kind of thing, and write drill at a really good level. But the kids did all the work. Does that make sense? I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So we had really great children, really great kids marching. We were really great kids playing, and honestly, we had great parents and great administrative support. And I think if you get that team put together, and it is a team. I've always said that the team is the kids, the administration, the parents, and the band directors. If we can get everybody doing that together, then you're going to have a pretty good program. And so a lot of that would be stuff that we did, but the kids overcame my youth. The parents overcame whatever issues we had, and we built some pretty good bands together. My very first job out of college was at Clear Creek High School in South Houston, and that was a pretty good band program. That we'd made a first division, first time we'd made a one in a while, and then the next year I was at Dobie High School as an assistant in Pasadena ISD, and that band went on to the state level and performed at state. It was eighth in the state, as I recall. The head band director is named Bill Braun. He's a Hall of Fame band director now in Texas and passed away a few years ago. But that band was really good and really fun to be around. And from that, I did drum corps. Did Nighthawks for a while, and then from that, we had our instruments stolen one night. I left them on the bus. See, that was my fault. We were opening the first Macy's. I left the instruments on the bus, and all of our horns got stolen. So we borrowed the Scouts' horns throughout the rest of the season, and then my parents were getting extremely busy building houses in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so I went up to Dallas and helped them for a decade to build houses. And my wife and I, my wife's a violinist. I met her at school at the University of Houston, and she's had really great orchestras throughout her life, and it's interesting that I get on these websites and these talks and get to talk about band, and she's had really great orchestras. It's like, wow, how'd all that happen? But she's had some really great groups as well. And we talk every night, as you know, Steve. We talk to band directors all over the country, And my wife will pop in there and it's like, you need to do your fundamentals every day. You don't skip don't skip a day. You need to do them every day. So she's brilliant and she's a good girl. So anyhow, we did that for about a decade, and then I wanted to go back to teaching, and I taught at Nolan Catholic for a few years, and that was an incredibly cool experience teaching at a private school. I remember seeing the headmaster and asking if I could see the band, and so he took me downstairs below the gym, and there was like this building that's like a basement that had risers in it and a grand piano, and he showed me the band, and I said, well, okay, that's a good beginner band. Can you show me the high school band? And he said, that is the high school band. Like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, sure, man. I'll take the gig, right? And so we went from 20 some odd kids to in the 90s in 3 or 4 years, and that color guard was the best color guard in the world one year. So that was a really good time, 1998. And I was talking to some kids at Westfield High School today, and it's like those kids decided they wanted to be really good. We hired some people to come work with them that were really good, and then the magic happened. It's the teamwork between the parents and admin, the kids, and the staff that just happened really well. And then from there, I went to Holiday High School. And the only reason I took the Holiday job is they had a sign about the sign of, 18 by 24, a real estate agent sign that said like state champions, 1990, whatever. And I thought, well, if they can do that once, they can do it twice. And so sure enough, we did. We were state champions twice at that school, and played at Midwest, the first small school band to play at Midwest. And that was a good time. And then from there, I went to South Houston at Clearbrook and was a band director there for a while. And so there you go. I ended up with my career at Seguin High School, and it was a great time. So we've had a great life in band, and the bands have all been really good. And the kids have been fun, and the parents have been great.
Talk a little bit about drum corps and the similarities or differences. Maybe there are no similarities between drum corps and small community teaching, but talk a little bit about those two experiences and compare and contrast.
I was privileged, and privilege is a really good word. I was on the staff at Not Express, and a young man named Steve Vinto was on that staff. A young man named Mike McIntosh was on that staff. And that drum corps, at the year that we were there, at the end of the year, ended up not coming out the next year. So we all found different groups. McIntosh went to Blue Knights, I ended up at Blue Knights. And then Steve Vinto went to the Blue Devils. So we got to meet some really great people. The similarity of drum corps, and music is music, and it's the activity is the activity. But drum corps is not marching band. It is not. We have kids that want to go march drum corps, and it's like, okay, well, the rehearsal schedule at the time for Blue Knights was 12 noon to 12 midnight. Are you sure you want to do that? You're complaining about this 2.5-hour rehearsal after school on Mondays, but are you sure you want to go do that? And the travel is the travel. So the music part was really fun, and creating and working at a very high level was extremely fun. And being around those people, one rehearsal, I was at Blue Knights, and Ralph Hardiman was teaching percussion there at Blue Knights. And so that was real fun to be around those kind of people all the time. My wife and our kids would just get in the Camaro and follow the buses with us, and we've been all over the country, doing drum corps. So we had a good time. We had our band kids were in those groups. We took some band kids with us, and so that made our marching bands at home way better. And then that. It was just a really, really good time to be in drum corps.
Sure. I saw an interview that you did a few years back. I think it was at TMEA maybe. And you were talking about Seguin High School, I think. Did you take them to Carnegie Hall and they also played at Midwest?
Seguin, I don't think we played at Midwest. The Pecos High School band. So when I had left Clearbrook, I'd been out a little bit for a while, and the superintendent had called me and said, what would it take for you to come back and teach? And it's like, well, Pecos High School is like 600 miles from the house, you know. And so we worked it out, and I ended up going to Pecos High School for a while, and it was an interesting place. That band had just made straight fours at contests. They were officially not very good, and it took us 52 days to make straight ones. Now, and again, I was at Westfield working with their student leaders today, Westfield High School in Spring ISD, and we were talking about that. And it's like, okay, guys, it's not the kids. You know, kids are kids, and it doesn't matter if they're blue or green. It doesn't matter if they like boys or girls. It doesn't matter. Kids are kids, and every child can learn, and every child should be in a place where we are teaching them to learn, if that makes any sense. And so that band got real good. It got really good. And so we did a clinic at Midwest with that band, 52 days from worst to first, so worst division to first division in 52 days. So they were a clinic band at Midwest, and we did the clinic, which is my regular fundamentals, you know, that, you know, you and I have done together. And that's what we did. We ended up, yeah. We ended up playing some hard music, you know. We're playing Persichetti. We did a little bit of Pineapple Paul, and you know, we can play some harder things. We played Molly on the Shore, so those kids could play after they had, you know, after we'd been with them for a while. And so they were really, really fun. And then we decided to do a blast show at the end of the year in the spring. And the reason is because I don't care what they play as long as they're playing something. And so we started working on a blast show, and we invited the whole town to show up, and I mean, it was smoke and lasers and strobe lights. It was really cool, and everybody, you know, in that town of Pecos, Texas, had never seen anything like that. Black lights, and the kids got into it, and we invited the elementary kids into that, and they just had a blast. Yeah. So it was a really fun. We called it Fuego, so it's Spanish for fire. And we had a really fun time with that, and that helped build the program because those kids wanted to be in something cool. And truth be told, I brought both my sons in. My oldest son is a bass player. He works for Apple Music and lives in West Hollywood. My youngest son has a doctorate in piano performance. So, and one of the band directors could play trap set, right? So we had a professional backup group with the band. And so it didn't matter what we did. It'd be like, hey man, what can you do that would be fun? And one of the kids would go, Mr. Mauldin, I can dance. It's like, really? Let me see it. And it's like, wow, that kid can dance. And so my kids would lean over and go like, okay, let's go in, here we go, in B flat, here we go, 2, 3, 4, and off they go, and this kid just starts, and the kids are flipping out about it. You know, they had a great time. Really great time. So that was real fun. And then when I left Pecos, we went to Seguin, and we'd been invited to play at Carnegie, and the new band director did not want to tackle that. So we took the band to Seguin my first year there. That was really interesting too. We got notification that was going to happen in October. The school district said, hey, you can do that in the 1st of November. So we raised about $250,000 in about 90 days.
Yeah.
And that's all a testament to bringing the community together, you know. And we played every Lions Club, every Rotary Club, every chamber event, everything. We're at the Sunrise Lions Club at 6 o'clock in the morning with the sax quartet playing something, and we'd always walk out with the check. Man, we want your kids to be good. Here's some money. And it was a fun time. It was a really, really fun time.
One of the things that I liked the most about that interview that I saw with you, you surveyed your kids. When you first got there, you said you surveyed your kids and asked them what they wanted out of the program and what they saw the program in the future. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Well, as I've gotten older, it's less about me and more about them. And, you know, as a young band director, you know, you want to go set the world on fire. And I was telling somebody the other day, you want to go do this, you want to go do that. And it's like, I'll tell you what, I'm 72 years old. If that'll buy me another day with my wife, I'm in. But if you're asking me to skip 3 or 4 days at home so I can go play band somewhere else in the country, then I'm out. You know what I mean? It's like, so you guys, if you want to go do this, tell us what you'd like to go do. What kind of music do you like? What does this mean for you? And what does the band mean for you? You know, we would do a lot of team building. And, you know, when Dr. Tim, we would see him at TMEA or Midwest, somewhere like that, and he would have us sing whatever, you know, sing Amazing Grace. But then when we held hands, Amazing Grace got way louder. And there's something about that human touch that binds us, that makes us feel stronger, that we can be together. So we would do things like put your right hand on a shoulder, and all of a sudden those kids got way stronger because they believed in one another. And they weren't doing it for themselves anymore. They were doing it for the team, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I don't care what we play. I don't care what you play in the stands. I don't care. I don't care what you play for contest. I would put music in the folders that I think would be good for the kids. And then they would choose what they liked out of that. And I've had band directors say, no, you can't do that. We can't let the kids do that. Well, if I didn't think it would be good for the band, it wouldn't be in the folder. Right. So it doesn't matter to me which of those 8 tunes that are in the folder, or 10, whatever the number is. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. I like this march over that march. Okay, cool. We're going to play that march. That's great. So that to me gave the kids a sense of purpose and a sense of ownership that maybe some other programs have not done before.
Yeah. We at Nashville, we got out of our Illinois music educators performance. We performed at IMEC, and I was walking around in the exhibit hall, and somebody called me over. I was in my suit, still on the performance high, and he's like, "Hey, have you guys ever considered coming to New York?" And it was MCP, is Manhattan Concert Music Productions, and I said, "Yeah, actually, we're going to come to New York in the next next spring." And he's like, "Well, we just had a band drop out of our festival. Would you guys like to take the spot?" And whenever I saw that interview with you, it was kind of the same deal. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, it was the same thing. We'd been accepted, and then they had asked the group, if the new band director wanted to do it, and he didn't quite want to bite all that off. And so, that was just a natural thing when they called me and said, "Hey, would you want to do it?" And I don't know that we ever say no to opportunity. That's the trick, It's, my parents would go, when you say no to opportunity, it's going to stop knocking at some point. And so at some point, where do we stop? And so I think that was a great trip for the kids. And it was cool. We got snowed in. We got to stay an extra day. And then the really fun part about that, we got snowed in. It's like, what do we do with the kids in the snow? Since the kids had never seen snow, and we're talking about it with the staff, and it's like, well, the kids are they will want to go out and play in the snow. We know that. So now either we can say, yes, you can play in the snow, or we're going to be chasing them for the next day and a half and getting onto them for playing in the snow. So let's just set up a time where we're going to play in the snow. So we had a snowman making contest, and then we put it on Facebook, and the people back home got to vote on who the winner was. And that was really fun. It was like, wow, that was pretty cool. So it got the kids out of the hotel, because all they're going to do is get in trouble. And it got them into the snow, which is what they wanted to do. The parents are worried about them being in the snow. They're worried about them. They're in New York. And I mean, you're from small town Texas with kids in New York. And so then the parents got to where they could see their kids and know that their kids are okay. So it kind of like filled up 4 or 5 buckets of need for us, And number one, we want the kids to have a good time and feel good about it, and we want their parents to know that their kids are safe. How can we do that? Yeah. And then some of the snowmen were pretty funny. I mean, it was great. They made dogs and cats and all kind of things. It was great.
I loved hearing that. That was just great creativity of keeping the kids busy and out of trouble and giving them kind of what they want too. That was so funny and awesome at the same time.
Well, the kids they're gonna be busy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're teenagers. They're going to get busy, and this is before everybody was on a cell phone. I mean, we'd be busy now doing video games from room to room, but what would be more fun than let's just go out and let's make snowmen. And they made snow women and snow dogs. One guy made a snow sheep and a snow cattle. And it's like, well, that's okay. I've never seen that before, but put it in the list. We'll see if anybody likes it, and they got votes. So it's fun. It's fun. And we had an awards night. I talked to the hotel into letting us have a ballroom, and we had an awards night, and we made some little ribbons out of something, and it was fun to get the kids to come up and clap for each other and have a good time. It was fun.
Yeah. I tell my kids to dream big and always keep your eyes open for opportunity. Dream big, but it doesn't, if you don't seize that opportunity, it doesn't matter how much you're dreaming. So I really appreciate, those two.
And that's the trick, Steve. That's the trick is like, okay, so now we want to dream really big. Okay. Now all of a sudden everything starts, all your moons start to align, and that dream's about to come together. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right.
So when you get to that point, it's not going to be easy. But if all of a sudden it's like, man, this looks like this is going to come together. Now what? Now what? I asked my wife if she wanted to get married, and it's like, now what? What happens if she says yes? She said no. So it's like, oh. Whew. Then the next time I asked her again, and she said yes. Well, I haven't been married 48 years, but you get what I'm saying. Is it if it were easy, everybody in the world would be doing that, and some of this stuff is a challenge, but those are the things that when you get to be my age and you look back on an entire career, an entire life of music with my family and all these other families across the state, it's like, wasn't that pretty cool? Yeah. Wasn't that pretty cool to go to state marching contests with that 4th Division band in a couple of years? Wasn't that pretty cool? How did that happen? And the answer a lot of times is, I don't know. We just started working. That band in Pecos, we had a Winter Winds group. We came in 4th one year. It's like, we almost medaled. It's like, how did that happen? And the answer is, I don't know. We just got good music, and we started practicing, and the kids liked each other, and we liked everybody, and it got better. It was interesting, fun time.
It sounds like to me when you talk about your programs that you've had is you really have built a community with your kids, and not only a community with your kids, but a way for your community, your music program community, to interrelate with the community, the town. Those two together.
We try to, and as I've gotten older, it's been easier for me. As a young Stan, as a young man, I'm a pretty hard-nosed person. Mom and Dad came through the Depression, and they were both really hard-nosed people. And so I'm a hard-nosed person. And so as I've gotten older, I've softened a little bit and tried to look at the bigger picture and quit worrying about what trophy we did or didn't bring home that night. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we were talking about parades a little while ago, just when you and I were talking, that the Seguin parade at the 4th of July, and so we're coming down the street, and I'm telling the flute players, it's like, okay, you guys split, the entire band just split, and I want every one of you to go shake our police officers' hands. So we got cops on this side, cops on this side. I want every band member to go shake somebody's hand. And the town loved it. Yeah. I mean, they loved it, and it's like, when do those police officers get the opportunity to have 200 kids come by and say thank you?
Right.
And was it such a big deal that it's going to kill the parade? No, it wasn't a big deal. And so that's what we did. I don't know anybody else that's done that likes doing that. It's like, let's include as many people as we can. And I'm not the guy that wants to stand in front. Get me behind. I stand behind the group a lot. The kids need to be in the forefront of everything. But I've grown into that. I was not that way at the very beginning. I was young. I was young. So as I've gotten older, it's gotten easier.
Yeah. One of my pet peeves is, I don't usually talk about this, but one of my pet peeves is seeing the band director with the trophies. With the picture with the most recent marching band trophy. I just want to say, let your kids take those pictures.
Correct.
Let them be in, in the, if you want to be in the picture with your kid, that's great, but let the kids take those pictures.
I saw because of social media now, we know that those kids will be contacting each other and us for life. We know that now.
Yeah.
We didn't know that back 20 years ago. And so now I start to see these pictures starting to come up. It's like, oh, look what we did in 1990, whatever. And I'm really happy that the kids have got that trophy. And I'm in the very back row. It's like those kids played all the notes. Those kids learned all of Lincolnshire Posey. I didn't, I'm sorry. I messed up in the third movement. I messed up a 3/8 measure. Sorry. And they didn't fall apart. So thank goodness for them, because I was the guy that messed it up.
Yeah.
So that I think that's the key to all of this, is that as we as educators have to understand, number one, every child every child can learn. And I just don't care about background, and every child can learn. We all have our set of issues. And secondly, once they do learn, then we have to find a way to reward them with, and it may be just a pat on the head. That's all they get, I was, again, with the leaders at Westfield High School in spring, and it's like, I need for you guys, we're gonna start talking to the new 8th graders next week. It's like, we need to have a bag of Jolly Ranchers with us. Everybody, we're gonna bring a bag of Jolly Ranchers. So when they do something right, when they get their horns in the right spot, when they get, when they do a good attention, that kind of thing, just kind of keep a tally on it. And today you got 5 Jolly Ranchers. Reach in and grab 5. And just to make the kids feel good about themselves. So, and I just think that's where my life is heading. Is the older I get, it's more about how do we get the kids more involved, how do we get them feeling better about themselves, and how do we get them to feel good that they're in music all the time.
Sure. Can you talk a little bit about your work with the Midwest Convention, and you and Becky Warren and Richard Crane all started the National Association for Small School Band Directors. Can you talk a little bit about that in the future? Where you guys see that program heading?
Richard Crane is a national gem, isn't he? He ought to be having his face on Mount Rushmore of music. He's an incredible young man. He just turned 92 years old. I saw him last night. I'm president of the Spring ISD alumni band, and Dr. Crane is the executive director, so we see each other every week. Richard and I eat breakfast once a week, once every couple of weeks, and the feeling is that as small school band directors, I always felt like I was by myself. I always felt alone. Mm-hmm. So how do we make it so that you in Nashville, Illinois, don't feel alone? How do we do that? How can we make somebody that's in South Dakota, how can we give them a support group that makes them feel like you're not in this by yourself? And so Becky Warren is from South Dakota, from the Dakotas, and how do we then take all of these people we know and start to put them together into an organization so that we can kind of lean on each other? Number one. Number two is, how can we then talk about how can we make our bands better? How can we make the instrumentation better? How can we make the balance better? How can we do everything that you and I've talked about? How can we make all of that better? And then number three, how can we get together on an occasional basis? That may be the Midwest Clinic. It may be some other things we've got cooking, and kind of be around and each other and be able to pick each other's brain and be around friendly people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes,
and
it does.
So I'm on the phone every night with a small school band director. I was talking to, we have one of the small school bands from Willows High School, and she's bringing her band to Midwest, and they're just right outside of Sacramento. And that's going to be a really fun clinic, because that band was really big before the pandemic, and then after the pandemic, it's real small. It's an agricultural community in California. It's like, how do we navigate all of the lasting effects, right, of this? So that was part of our mentorship in talking with her. When your group played, as part of our mentorship with your group, the people in California that Sky took Sky took Oklahoma, that was part of us talking and going like, how can we help you? How can we make it better? And then how can we then present that so that everybody can see what you're doing? But that's kind of the goal with all of the National Association of Small School Bands. The number one goal is to make us feel like we're not alone and that we all have these same issues. And Steve, you know this, it's like, I can't make sectionals today. And it's like, how come you're not coming to sectionals? It's like, well, I gotta feed my goat. I've got a show goat. I have to feed him at the same time every day. It's like, really? Okay. And that's a real excuse, in some of these Title I schools, it's like, I can't be there on Saturday. And it's like, why not? Mom and dad work. Who's going to watch the kids? So I'm a sophomore or junior in high school. Who's going to watch the junior high elementary kids? Well, that's a real excuse.
Yeah.
And we've got to find a different way to then tackle that problem. So that stuff that once you hear it, it's like, yeah, I had a kid skip a contest. It's like, how come? He's showing his rabbit, he got a blue ribbon. And, and they're like, you have that too? And it's like, yeah, I had that too, just like everybody else in small school does.
Right.
And I'm on the football team, and our drum major at Holiday High School he's one of the first trumpets in the Cavaliers. He's also a center on the football team, and he's out there conducting in his pads.
Yeah.
He now lives in Atlanta and is doing incredible work. But you get what I'm saying, is those kids are in everything. And it's nice to hear from you. You and I chatted before we started. It's nice to hear that we're all talking about the same issues and same things. And how do we make these small school kids really successful? And that's the question we all have to answer, I believe.
Yeah. Before we stop this podcast, the whole thing has been, advice to directors. I hope a lot of young band directors get to listen to this, but do you have anything specific that you would say, this is the one thing that you really have to think about in the next couple of years as you're starting your career?
Oh my, that's like $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
You know me. I was fortunate to be at the University of Houston and I was graduating right as a young man named Eddie Green was coming in. Now, my direct mentor was Tom Bennett. He's the second generation Eddie Green. That's this whole Remington, all that stuff that we all do, right? And my number one thing that I would tell young band directors is fast is slow, slow is fast. Mm-hmm. I talked to a band director the other day, and it's like, he asked me, how far did you get in the book? And one of the beginner books, right?
Sure. I
said, I don't know. And he says, well, I'm on like line 70 something. My goal is to be finished by the end of the month. And I said, there's an end to the book? There's really an end to it? I've never been there before. I don't know. My number one thing. So let's go back. My number one advice to band directors. Number one, every child can learn. Okay. Number two is the number one most important thing for a student to be able to do is make good tone on their instrument. If you don't have good tone, the rest of it doesn't matter. Okay. Number three is your fundamentals are the most important part of your band class. Think about your procedure. How do you come in the room? How do the kids get their instrument out? I've got a picture of the Wells Intermediate kids at Spring ISD. I've got a saxophone class there with 12 saxophones. And it's like they come in the room quietly. I didn't say silently. They come in quietly. They get their instrument out. They put the instrument on the right side. The handle goes right. Now the question to the kids was, you decide. I don't care which way you put the handle. Doesn't matter. They they voted right. Okay, so we're going to put it on the right side. So now we've set up the procedure of coming in the room quietly, get your instrument out, put your neck strap on before you start doing anything, with the horn so you don't drop it, and then put your case on the right side, put the handle facing right. Okay, so the procedure is really important. Now, once we've got the procedure figured out, they've really got to sit up on the very front edge of their chair. Okay, now we've got them sitting up on the front edge of their chair. And I did a clinic last year at Midwest. We had a trumpet player, and it's like, show me how you're holding the horn. And he's got the finger in the ring, thumb down the lead pipe, right, 1 and 3. I said, don't move. And I said, who taught you to hold the horn like that? Right? I said, why don't you shake your hands and just put it on, just put them on. So for the clinic, I said, you're going to do this for the clinic, okay? And he's like, yeah, cool. So he played a note with his hand position. I said, don't move. And we pulled it away from him. I said, now look, everybody see what his hands look like? Just shake your hands, put them on the trumpet. So put your thumb between 1 and 2, then put your hands over, put your little finger on top. Now play that G again. And they all started clapping. It's like all we did was held the horn correctly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And once you do that, then your tone gets better. So now we've got them where they come in correctly. They've got really good tone. And I've got a friend named Tyann Payne. She's the clarinet guru here in Houston. I said once, that's really good beginner sound. And I got scolded for that. And she said, there's no such thing as beginner sound. It's either professional sound or it's not. Now think of what I just said. Either that low G, that C, 1, 2, 3, C, either that's a really pretty sound, or you've done something here and made it not, or the reed's not on correctly or something. Now a 6th grader can't play a gazillion notes, but they can sound good on what they have.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And then we're going to add notes. And when you get to the upper register, that's a different animal, right? But you want to make good sounds on every note. So going backwards, procedure is number 1, making good sounds from the beginning, okay? And then Tyann also says every embouchure goes in. Now think of what I just said. Every embouchure goes in, right? My saxophone embouchure goes in. This is not embouchure for anything. Okay, I guess it could be an embouchure for a snare drummer, right? But beyond that, you're not going to be a good tuba player doing this. You won't play good flute, good clarinet. Every embouchure, these corners have got to come in. Okay, so let's go backwards. Procedures number 1. Every embouchure goes in. Sit up in the chair. Hold the horn correctly. Okay. Make a good tone on what you can play, right? And then from me, I want you to play in tune. And we're working with those 6th grade saxophone players at Wells. We're working on playing really well in tune. We're using our tonal energy. We play games with them every Friday. So Friday they know is game day. So Friday coming up is going to be, okay, make a smiley face. Here's your Jolly Rancher. Now, if you'll make your smiley face and make the smile bigger, like that, here's your Jolly Rancher. If you'll make him break out into he's going to break apart into in tune happiness, here's a Jolly Rancher. You can hold that pitch for a long period of time. Well, we made all of that into a game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, so now the kids are playing the game at a real high level. And then I've got my saxophones doing Clark study, right? Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We learned it a little at a time. Okay, now next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, it's going to be Speed Week. And it's going to be who can play it the fastest. And they don't know this, but I'm going to have 2 of them tie. And I'm going to give them $1. Here's $1. And if you can play it the fastest, I'm going to give you $1. Then I snapped $1. Okay, and so we go, and I have 2 of them tied. Now, what do I do with the $1?
Rip it in half.
Rip the $1 in half and give them both a $0.50. They go, Mr. Mauldin, what are you doing? See, we made it into something really fun. I don't have my wallet here. I'd show them this after it's finished. I was at a mall the other day. At a store the other day, and I saw a kid that I'd seen like 20 years ago, and he said, hey, how are you doing? And I said, fine. And he pulls out his wallet and says, look what I have in my wallet. And he pulls out a $0.50. And I had bet him $1 that he could not play the etude faster than me. And he's getting pretty good at it. And he's getting so good at it, he's about to play faster than me. So what did I do with the $1? Gave him half, I kept half. And so he said, here's my dollar. It's been in my wallet for 20 years. I said, well, hey, man, look what's in my wallet. I've had my half in my wallet.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we put them together, right? It's like, yeah. I said, do you want the whole dollar? I'll give you my half. He says, no, my gosh, no, I would never do that. I have this half. I want to keep this half. So you get what I'm saying? So, and then the last thing I would say, it has to be fun. It's music. It's just got to be fun, and it can't be drudgery. They've got to they want to run into your room going like, I can't wait to get here. So that's what I would tell young teachers. Sorry that took so long, but that's a whole webinar right there by itself.
Yeah, no, that's great. I heard you say at Midwest this year, or this past year, music's not hard. Music's fun. Music's not hard. And I don't think you meant it's not technically hard. I think you meant the fun of music makes everything worthwhile. And I'm not meaning to put words in your mouth, but is that what you meant?
Yeah. Again, in my leadership today at Westfield, I said, none of this is hard. Now think about what I'm asking you to do. Get your horns up together. That's not hard. Hey, here we go. Ready? Get your horns up together. See, that's how simple that is. I want you to play in tune. I want you to play in time. I want you to get in step. I want you to get your interval correct. I want you to get your body straight up and down. Not hard until you start doing it all at once. And then it starts to get a little tricky, doesn't it? And so you've got to lean on your neighbor when you get to those tough times, when it gets really hard. And in Texas, and it's August and it's 104, 105 degrees, you've got to be able to have some fun with that. If it's not fun, then it becomes impossibly hard. When I was at Clearbrook, one of the things we did is the very last rehearsal, we brought in a fire truck to spray the kids. And they brought in their big boom, the guys like spraying it, everything, and it's just fun. It's just a great time to go like, okay, we've made it through the summer band part of this, which is the hottest and hardest part of this. Now we know this is going to be fun. We're going to stop early. There's no need you guys coming into the band hall getting all wet and everything. Once you're done, you're going to go around back and get in your car and go home. But if it's not fun, then it is impossibly hard.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And if you don't have somebody sitting next to you egging you on, hey man, I've got this lick. How about you? And it's like, well, I don't have it yet. And then come on, we'll do it together. And if you've got somebody to do it together, then it's real fun.
Right. But
if you don't have somebody to do it with you, my gosh, it's hard. I mean, it's just real hard.
Yeah.
I told the alumni band last night, I said, if you were waiting for the very, very last rehearsal to practice your part before the concert coming up on Sunday, then that's today, okay? So like if you're waiting on that, and they all laughed and they all looked at each other and went like, okay, we're playing Tulsa and Esprit de Corps and El Camino Real. We're playing really hard stuff, and it's like, it's real hard. But when they're playing that hard stuff together, it's the most fun they've ever had. The bassoon player came up and he's a graduate from the University of Cincinnati, and he can really play. And then the girl that is playing clarinet for us plays in the Grand Opera. They can really play, and they're high-fiving each other and having a good time. The music is real hard. But when you have somebody to play it with, then it's real fun. Yeah. So that to me is what makes band. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's what I think.
Stan, this has been awesome. Thank you so much thanks for coming on here. And in particular for me and my kids, thank you for everything that you did for us when we went up to Midwest. You said your goal for National Association for Small School Band Directors was to make band directors not feel alone. And that is exactly what you made me feel like whenever we were up there. I felt like I had, we hadn't met each other except for on the computer, and I felt like I had a friend to, say, is this okay? Is what I'm thinking good for Midwest? And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that for us.
Well, thank you very, very much. It was such a great time. Thank you.
To our listeners, thanks for tuning in to Small Town Sound. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please tell another music educator to listen, or maybe even email me and ask if they can be on the show. Until next time, dream big.